What's up, guys? Zenari here, and today I just wanted to talk about Kairi. Now, I've been kind of struggling to make a video on Kairi, and I think this is just the best way for me to talk about it. I wanted to write a script to discuss the pros and cons between both variations to grade 4 and just like the new grade 3 variation, but I really couldn't do either or in a concise manner. So I think I'm just gonna ramble on a bit about both, and hopefully, my thoughts and what I believe about like not which one is better, but how it's up to the player's preference and how the meta is shifting. I think it's up to either or for either variant. So sorry if this one doesn't seem as concise or as like animated as the other videos, but I really wanted to talk about this, and I can't let this go on for too long, since Kairi is still a fresh topic that's still being talked about. So I'm not going to go over all of the cards for Kairi, but I want to talk about the main ones. So most importantly, Kairi herself, her as a grade 3, when your other units are placed, they get 5k, so that's a continuous ability if your opponent's grade 3. Then she has this, her other ability is when she attacks, you return up to 2 cards from your hand. For regular circles to your hand, that you can counterblast 1. You call 2 to any regular circle, I don't believe it's open. And if your opponent's grade 3 or greater, she gets a drive check. Then at the end of your turn, you can choose up to one of your regards to return to hand. If you persona roll that turn, you can bounce 2. So before I go deep talking to Kairi, I want to talk about her support that she got. This card is really good, but essentially this card, when she's placed on Rigor Circle, you count mouse 1. You reveal a Mermaid from your ride deck, or you can reveal a Mermaid that's on your grade 3 Vanguard Circle, grade 3 or greater. You count mouse 1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up the card with the Mermaid race that isn't a Sentinel, or this card, which is Prism Pearl and Twinkle Powder. Yeah, Prism Pearl, Twinkle Powder. You can add it to your hand. If you didn't, you can countercharge 1. Then her second ability is when Kairi herself bounces something in your front row, you can Energy Blast 4 and restand that whole column. So I'm just going to call her Apple for now. I don't know how to say her whole name, but Apple or Kairi are really good. Apple's good in other decks too, but we're not talking about her. We're talking about Kairi. So Kairi herself, I think she's a really good Vanguard, even in her own deck, because she essentially allows you to get 5 attacks on your first grade 3 turn, which the other Kairi cannot do, like your OTD one. And grade 4, you have to wait for an extra turn if you went first, meaning you want to usually go second to get the 5 attacks. But in this deck, you can get 5 attacks going first, even though they don't have any power. There are still cards that can get enough power to essentially just pressure your opponent on grade 2. But her most important ability, I say, other than a drive into power, is her end of turn skill, which allows you to just bounce back cards for essentially no cost. If you persona row, you can bounce back 2, meaning you can recover your back row or your front row, so you're not susceptible to control. You can bounce half of the cards back on your board as well. And she's really generic because she does everything essentially herself and also give a little bit of power. So I think Kairi is like a really good card, even in premium, even though everything won't activate. No, everything will activate in premium. It will cost a counterblast, but the extra power, especially the bouncing card at the end of your turn, it's really, really nice. Apple herself, in Kairi, she can also search for Kairi, I believe. She can search for your other Mermaid cards in other decks as well. Also, she just restands whatever column that she's in. So you can restand, your rear guard column. She can't restand the Vanguard, sorry. But she has to be on rear guard circle to restand all of your rear guards. So, which is just very, very good because Kairi wants to obviously have multiple attacks. But compared to like Penelope, this doesn't cost soul. So you can use all your energy on this. And now I want to also talk about Prism Power. I keep calling Prism Power. I want to talk about the set order. So this card is actually coming up very soon for English. It's with the Aristaria set, and it has 2 abilities. The first skill is continuous. When you play it, it's a set order. So when it's in your set order zone or your order zone, all your mermaids get the ability to boost. That's discontinuous. And the act skill is you can soul boss one. You choose one of your mermaid units, and it gets 5 as a power to the end of the turn. So this allows like your grade 2s, like Apple, to boost, or your Penelopes, or any other mermaids you have. If you have like an extra Kairi you want, oh, I need a 13k booster. Oh, I'll just bounce it back with her free bounce skill. So you can use it as a booster for like a turn. And this opens up a lot of possibilities for you to deck building. You could play more grade 2s, or you could play specific grade 3s to have more boosters. Now, I did make I was going to record a video about me going over the latest tops, but I decided against it because I wanted to talk about this first. So far in the Japanese metagame, or sets that have this new Kairi, they've been opting to not like run many copies of this, but they still do. However, they're playing this package with the Rainbow Cyclers, or Persona Cyclers, and this card. So this card, she has 2 abilities. It's a rare, by the way, but she has 2 really good abilities. So the first one is, when she's placed on River Circle, you have a grade 3 or greater card with Kairi in its card name. You can choose a card with a stasis from your drop zone to put into your soul. Then her second ability is River Circle. If your Vanguard is has a stasis in the card name, she gets 2,000 power. I think if it's grade 3, so she doesn't get the power immediately, but it's still a 10k booster. But this with the Persona Cycler, since you're able to just get a shield ticket whenever it's placed during your main phase and not during battle phase or from an ability, you're essentially getting free shield. This is also a 50k attacker too. On Kairi it's 20k, so that's a minimum 10k shield. On Persona it'll be greater, so that's also something you should know about. But these 2 cards together are really, really strong for the grade 3 core, also for grade 4, but grade 4 has a lot more inherent shield. For Kairi, well, for this variant, you would need to be able to search for Apple, or at least get Apple to search for the Persona Cycler, or you could just raw draw into it. But these 2 cards are really good together, and something that I'm kind of worried about in the future when it comes to like how many decks are going to try to abuse this combo, because it's really strong. But I think right now in the metagame, with how strong Bob Saga is, and there's other decks coming up that has enough power to actually get through, I don't think it's that something to be concerned about. However, it is an interaction I think they'll have to watch out for when they make new lyrical cards for specifically Kairi, because they could just they could really abuse this combo. But regardless, from the list I've been seeing, they've been running a combination of Apple, these cards, not necessarily the order, but let's go here. They have been playing Penelope, Yuika, and also Franchette. They've been using the Aqua ride line, the top idol ride line, and it's some combination of those. I don't think I've seen many lists play Holette, because they opt to use this for more shield. You essentially get more shield. You don't have to like CB to draw. And you clear your board good enough with Yuika. Also, this card, if you have it in your hand, you call it, fuels up to your soul, that could be your Yuika cost. You can soul boss for this and then call it right back. So you can refund your soul for this, and then Kairi could just bounce this back, or like Franchette could bounce it back because Franchette also bounces. And also you can refund your Penelope's cost too, since Penelope is a soul blast. Just ignore this. So anyway, are you struggling to find cards or sleeves for your deck? Well, I got a website for you. 50 Cards is a TCG website that ships all over the world. One of the best places for your trading card needs. Without 50 Cards, I wouldn't be able to have these amazing, beautiful looking cards in great condition in my hands. What are you waiting for? Head over to the shop and use the code Zenarion for a 5% discount for your TCG items at checkout. Use the referral link in the description below. While you're at it, hit a like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Happy shopping. With grade 3 Kairi, I think it's like a really good Vanguard, and the deck so far seems to be really well. However, I do want to talk about the issues of the deck, which has been majorly brought up a lot. So far, from what I've been hearing and what I've been seeing in discussions, is that this variation of Kairi does not have a lot of shield. And compared to like her grade 4, she has access to this card, which it allows you to essentially have more shield in your deck, and also you're able to draw while having a lot of power. Because grade 4 Kairi is obviously grade 4, and she herself doesn't draw, but she has a inherent triple drive, which you don't need a counter blast for. So this card can essentially fill in the extra slot where the counter blast usage was being for, but also you can draw, and you can just recall it again to draw. Also, you lose your access to Yasmin, which Yasmin also has extra shields, so she also gets extra 10k shield. You're playing 4, so essentially you're getting like an extra 40k shield with this. In this, you're getting an extra 60k. So you're losing a lot of shield value while you're just on grade 3 Kairi. However, I will say that, you know, we do have access to this, which can just be infinitely scaled if you just have this and you just keep using these two over and over. However, that is a flaw, I will say, with this deck, is that it doesn't have a lot of inherent shield just by playing in grade 4. Another issue, well, not issue, a point that was brought up for grade 3 was that you do have to counter blast in order to get the extra drive and the extra attacks, while grade 4 doesn't, which I can understand that. It is reasonable where there could be some matchups against like decks that gain a lot of crit, or they just purposely end their turn if they can't push you to a certain amount of damage, and you can't gain that much advantage from it. And Lyrical does not have a lot of good counter charging options because, you know, it's Lyrical, unless you have R-type named specific cards, which Kairi doesn't. So you can be played around with you having low counter blast in this deck for the grade 3 variant, while grade 4 cannot be denied since she doesn't have a counter blast cost. The only thing that will only be countered is essentially, you know, Yasmin, but that's early game, and the dragon, which, you know, that's mainly for drawing. Also, grade 4 Kairi does play Hole at 2 for extra draws as well. And the last thing, was it the last thing? It was drawing, shield, and I think that's really it. I feel like there was another one where I guess power, and I think you get a lot more power with grade 3 Kairi because Persona is inherently stronger than the grade 4. However, people do bring up Penelope does give your front row extra 5k, but I still think the inherent 10k from a Persona ride is way stronger than using in grade 4 with Penelope. But thinking about it, I also think going second, grade 4 is a bit better since you do have access to Yasmin immediately. Then you can just ride to grade 4, then just start doing your shenanigans with that deck, in that list. This deck can be a little bit worse going second. However, you can still access the same amount of power. Not without Penelope, obviously, with the grade 4. But you can still access power going second. Which lists... Well, I would say lists that have something, a combination of, you know, the Persona Cycler with Prussia. You have a pretty okay going second turn because, you know, you could draw from Senna, which Senna could draw into your Prussia or Persona Cycler, and the Persona Cycler gives you a shield or another draw, so it's not that bad. So overall, I think like between like the discussion between grade 4 and grade 3, I don't have a stance on it. I'm biased. I don't really like the grade 4 variation of Kairi. However, it is something to be noted that the grade 4 variation of Kairi, ever since like, I want to say, not actually ever since that she was in the, like, been printed, she's always had a showing, even when the meta was like clearly at Wallista for a moment. Then it shifted over to something else. There were still people playing Kairi, and whenever she got an update, people will still play the deck with the grade 4. So I won't say that it's completely like abandoned, right? There will be some people that eventually will come back and try this to see if they can do a hybrid of it. What I think what might happen is that there will probably be a list where it combines both variations, since you know you can possibly draw enough cards in like this new list to get to grade 4 Kairi, or you just stay on grade 3 with this one. So I think it will be like a different variation between like the grade 3 and the grade 4. When it comes to like different techs, from what I've been seeing, it's really, other than like maybe do it yourself as a blitz order, and like some other cards that aren't as super impactful, I think this deck will be fine. I think both variations will be fine. People will have to experiment with the grade 4 though. Just because I will say the grade 3, her last ability kind of makes it more worth it to sit on her, because you inherently get more cards back. While in the grade 4, yes, you get a lot more drawing and a lot more free attacks. You cannot bounce your board back. And with some of the cards that are in the meta, like Aristaria can like lock an opponent rear guard. Even if you play Yuika, you can still lose that Yuika and not have another one. And other cards like that, I think it's important to just clear your board in that case. I'm not saying that you shouldn't value it all the time. Obviously, you can have your text or play whatever you want to avoid that from happening. But I think it's important to note that you should be aware that, you know, the metagame is more... there are some cards that can just screw you over if you leave a rearguard out or so. But that's just my 2 cents on the situation and what I think about either versions of Kairi. So let me know what you guys think down in the description below. It's like almost 1 o'clock for me, so hopefully you guys enjoy me just rambling about, you know, both variations of Kairi. I'll eventually do like a more in-depth like video deck profile or just video on it. So without further ado, I'm Zenarion and I'm signing off.